And what we're going to do, we knocked these tabs off already. We made an indication line where we need to bring this piece back up here so that it moves into the swing arm, and we're going to turn it around backwards for the War Pony fender. This will give us the ability to weld in a taillight housing, make this kind of a trick little fender. You could do the same thing in a various number of other ways. You can start with, fender blanks. A lot of people making fender blanks now. But, for us, we kind of wanted to stick to the roots of this. So we'll pretend for the sake of this segment that we bought this at a swap meet and got a nice cheap fender, and we're going to make it into something other than its intended purpose. That's
Very
Pat's
masculine.
favorite tool.
Very masculine.
Let's bring that here.
It's a tough crowd. For those of you that are either joining us on Facebook Live now or coming back, you just want to grab a drink and you're wondering what's going on, this is Grease and Gears Garage. We are just some greasy mechanics that are on tour with the Progressive International Motorcycle Show. We bring all these tools up and we invite different people in from around the country. Builders, custom motorcycle builders, to do one thing perhaps that they do in their shop. We just had Corey Ness and Brian Clock up here, and they were talking to us about motorcycle design. Now this is the garage crew, and so Grease and Gears Garage crew, and we're building a bike called War Pony. And so part of what we still have left to do is we've decided that we're going to use an FL-style front fender. We're going to turn it around backwards, modify it, and use it as our rear fender. So that's what we're doing right now. It's about to get loud.
I forgot my safety glasses.
And that's an interesting straight line.
It's right now.
I'm just saying.
No, listen. So right now we don't really have the exact place that line is going to be, so it doesn't
you're going
really
to
matter.
use two to see which one you like better. I totally
We're
understand.
just cutting material out of the way for the minute.
All right, whatever. Just saying. It's just as easy to cut a straight line as a crooked one. I'm just saying. I think it looks good, Chris.
When we're at Sin Central Garage, we'll do things a little more precise. But this is
if you'd come visit me, I'd let you do it any way you want to, Chris. Come to my fenders. Golly. We're sharing an Airbnb. I got to be careful of that
It's
guy.
almost everything Pat says you could take two ways. It's a little freaky. That's really not, because I'm thinking, follow that line.
Yeah, we want to keep that line straight with the bottom of the, correct?
Yeah.
So maybe if we take another inch or so out, it's getting set it back up on there again. So how far down? Right there is even, so another inch or so would be where you want it to be. So if we took another inch out of that, maybe it was somewhat.
So what we're looking to do right now is where this radius comes up on the bottom of the fender, we kind of want to match that with the wheel. So, but at the same time, keeping this as low and tight as we can.
Said I still think we can take some of this out.
Yeah, we're going to have to dimple the back of the fender for sure.
Yeah, but I'm saying if we come up a hair on this, up and then over, you know what I mean? That's
Let's get another inch out of that. Okay.
Part of what our goal with this bike is Chris has designed the bike. He came up with the design and
down as a wedge.
Drew it out, and it sticks to it. And that's one of the big things that we've tried to tell everybody. When you want to begin building a custom bike, like Corey and he were saying, there's one. Brian were saying it's one thing to be able to start with a bike and figure out how to customize it. Completely different thing from the ground up it kind of. I mean, that's tough. So you want to get an idea. You want to sketch it out, do whatever you have to do to be able to say, this is the bike that I want to build, and then stick to that. Don't compromise that. Otherwise, as soon as you change one thing because, that might not be, that's too hard to make or whatever, or I can't, then it starts changing that design, and you end up spending a lot of time and a lot of money on a motorcycle that you didn't want. So build the bike you want, first of all, start with that. And so, but the other thing that's fun for us, the kind of the definition of a chopper is
Repurpose.
It's recycle, reuse, repurpose, and so I know the tagline for my shop, Sin Central Garage, is resurrecting hot rods, Harleys, and Hellions. We take old stuff and we give it new life. That's our deal.
The tagline at Sin Central was, "What do you feel like doing today?"
What do you feel like doing today? 8 episodes of MASH and some ice cream, please.
So for your own protection, we're going to put this up because we're going to have a shower of sparks. I want to make sure they don't get anybody there, but they're nice enough to shoot a side angle. If you just pay attention to the screens,
you'll be able to see it. But so that's what we're doing. We've got a GSXR front end that we've modified the stem so that it'll fit. We've got an FL front fender. We're modifying it to fit on the back. We're reusing the drivetrain out of a 2003 Ultra Classic that was Chris's bike, which is a Soul of War pony. The bike was wrecked, so we're using that. So some new components, but we're also trying to really look around and see what we can find to repurpose and use on the bike. So it's about to get loud and sparky.
Straight up what?
I'd cut straight on those two lines, and then for time, it just saws all those two off. You know what I mean? It'd be way faster.
Okay.
They're going high, man.
Sorry.
It's all right. Oh, she's a big one. It's a tuna. I feel like I'm fishing. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Nate. Nearly caught you on fire, didn't we?
Straight into it, you know what I mean? Definitely hold the front of
And the goal with this bike is we started this bike in Long Beach just with a raw frame. Over the course of 7 shows, you can watch it. We're Facebook Living all of this. So you can go back and watch it on Cycle Source page, JMP Cycles, the Motorcycle Show page. This bike will ride off stage at the last show. So we'll have the whole bike completely built on stage over 7 shows. If not, you'll get to enjoy a hat, visor. We're doing this for several reasons. One, because Chris wanted a new motorcycle. This was a way he could explain to his wife why we were doing this. But the other reason we're doing it is just to show people kind of the process of what it takes to build a custom motorcycle. It's lengthy and involved, but if you take your time, there really isn't any skill that you couldn't acquire to build your own custom motorcycle. If you're just patient, you can accomplish the tasks involved here. Now, we've had some really talented guys on this stage already over the first 3 shows. You can go back and look at those on Facebook again. Yeah. But, Evan Favaro from Speakeasy Motors came up on stage and took a 30 by 30 sheet of 18 gauge steel and with the tooling that you see on stage, made a gas tank, made a custom gas tank out of it. And so, we had Kyle Shorey up here and Mark, friend of ours from the show, come up this morning, and they made a fender here on stage. So, but it doesn't really require that. Obviously, if you're recycling, repurposing, reusing, you can build a cool motorcycle or even take yours and customize it with pretty simple tools and some basic knowledge of just how to use the tools and what you're looking for.
So what we found here real quick is that where the battery box is, the fender kind of needs dimpled in.
Can you take a bar and...
Well, we're actually going to cut a relief here first,
Okay.
and then just push it in for now. We take it back to, when we get a couple minutes here, we'll take it back to the welder and actually weld that relief up, but we're going to make that dimple first.
Okay.
I think first we're going to get rid of that tab. Oh, okay.
This is the first show this has been on wheels. Usually when I pull it, the legs fall off.
Okay.
It is a twin cam. It's out of a 2003 Ultra Classic that Chris had 250,000 miles on it when the bike was totaled. So it was kind of ready for a redo anyway. Now he's not going to. I don't see the fire marshal. Sparks are cool though. I like sparks. But anyway, so we've salvaged the motor out of that 2003 Ultra Classic. Yeah, and so we've taken that motor, and Zipper's Performance right now has it, and they're going through it and building it. It's going to be a 110. Is that what you're putting in this, Chris? Yeah. It's going to be a 110 with really nice headwork and stuff. The bike already had a 6-speed Baker transmission in it. And so, what do you do with a 2003 Ultra Classic when it's totaled? And you're not going to put the money into it to put it back together. And so that already had a built motor. And so Paco out of Reno, Nevada, now makes this FXR style chassis that will accept any Harley touring drivetrain. And so this just made the best sense to be able to reuse that motor. It's like magic. It's funny, Chris and I hadn't really talked about bike builds, future bike builds, or anything. And I've got a 97 Road King. Okay. It's the bike I've owned the longest. I've right now got it set up. I built it for the Hot Bike Tour a few years ago. I set it up, which is funny. I built the bike for the Hot Bike Tour, and then it got wrecked twice before I ever got on tour in Sturgis. But it ended up ending the tour without a rear fender on it, and I just had it strapped to the front of the bike. But I'm doing a very similar thing. Oh, let me look at
one more time.
One more time.
That's the thing about when you're trying to do things on a budget in a shop, and you have your fender. I would always take your time, measure, cut a little bit. I mean, Pat was giving me some grief about our first cut, but our first cut was well short of where we knew we were going to end up, because you want to go to that a little bit at a time. Unless you have enough money for 5 fenders, then God bless.
Or the patience to weld a quarter inch back on at a time. So anyway, I've got a 97 Road King that I'm going to be doing something very similar to, because the frames are very similar. I'm going to be utilizing a set of Chaos Cycle has just come out with a set of triple trees that allow you to put 50 millimeter forks on virtually any Harley Davidson out there. And so I've got a GSXR front end of the house. So instead of doing the steering neck stem and turning that down and doing all that, I'm just going to use Chaos Cycles triple trees, pop them on there, and I'll be done with that part. So, but we're going to end up building a very similar bike. I've got it built right now so it resembles an old knucklehead. So I'm taking it completely different direction, kind of a little sportier. So. Can you hold that up so folks can see? There we go.
And like I said, we're doing this a little bit of time to find our way with it. I know that I need probably an inch. So I'm going to kick that back in a little bit. If we find what we like out of this, then we'll go back in with the little pieces welded in, make it look nice. But I want to get a relief so that that fender can come forward a little bit more and get up against that battery box. We're actually going to end up making that into our mount. We'll get a mount off of the back of that fender.
Okay, so let's go up one more. Where are you shooting for? Because I'm going to have to mark again because we're going to have to cut further in.
Okay.
A bike that I happen to love that's here at the show, right at the entrance. You can look at it. It's called a Little Twisted. It's hard to miss. It's a chopper. with a Sportster drivetrain, and it's bright yellow and it's got beautiful kind of bronze metallic paint on the tank with a little twisted in there. Mark and Chris actually built that bike, and the entire frame is twisted, the wheels are twisted, and everything. They built that bike for Twisted Tea. It was a giveaway bike, and the people that won it decided they'd take the money, and so where the bike goes now is a little bit in limbo because nobody would have thought that somebody wasn't going to take that bike, but they've been riding that all over the country. It's a really nice bike, but they built that bike. So Chris has a great eye for design, and of course, as the founder, editor, owner of Cycle Source magazine,
I've spent 21 years looking at everyone else's motorcycles. So once the magazine got stable enough that I started getting to build my own stuff again, I knew all the favorite tricks that I wanted to try. You know what I mean? I've been watching you guys forever.
Well, and then Grease and Gears Garage is a great opportunity for all of us, for Chris and I, to be able to invite all of our friends that are builders from around the country. So now we're learning every trick in the book that they've got. I mean, this is like going to school. So basically we designed a format to learn for ourselves so that we can get better at our craft as well. So it's been really nice.
Actually,
it's
let's
time to make these sparks, as Warren Lane's brother says.
Yeah. Yep.
Sparks are cool.
So what we've done now, rather than take everything that we need out of that first piece, now we've relief cut here, and we know that we have to come out to these corners. And we're actually just going to bang those corners in so that flap will come down. It'll meet our original first flap, and it'll start making that piece that we want to weld back together for a relief. Now that's rather than, if I would have tried to do this all in one piece, I would have started to distort the fender back here. So I'm doing that in sections like that so that we can keep the fender, you know, more of its not our original shape, I guess. They have a really cool machine in a factory that comes down like this on a piece of sheet metal and goes, and it makes that relief so nice.
We don't have that piece of machinery.
Yep, there we go. So now you can see, let me turn the table a little bit. You can see what we're trying to do here with this. So now that we've pushed that fender forward, we got a nice little gap here so that we don't have a big fender hanging out on the back of the tire. You know, we still have a swing arm suspension, so it's going to have some movement, but we're following the radius of that rim around. You know, this is all the way back at the end of the adjuster. By the time that wheel's in the center of the adjuster, it's going to match up pretty close to our line of the fender.
Don't forget to mention that these front corners have to get cut out because the swing arm is still
Yeah.
smack the fender.
Yeah, and we're still, you know, like Mark just said, this is a swing arm frame. Obviously, we're where we want to be, but now we're going to make our indications of where we want to cut that fender out. The most important thing is this is still undrilled for mounting, so I want to get this thing into the position that I want it to be aesthetically. Then we're going to make that final measurement so that the swing arm has room to move. You know, you want to get that corner up away from that swing arm so nothing's going to interfere with it. Not very much movement, but it's still something to think about. You don't want to.
And then the chain on the other side, you're going to want to, he'll relief that up because he's putting a great big fat gnarly racing chain on it.
And I think from what it's looking like, we don't have it completely spaced yet. What it's looking like, I don't even think we're going to have to relief the fender. I think it's going to end up going right past.
Nice.
You know, so we're in kind of a good spot with that.
Tip the fender out a little too. It's going to be hidden.
Right.
Mark, stay there for a second. So obviously we're a publication. We're on national newsstands, and everybody lives and dies with social media today. So there's rarely anything that we do that doesn't have social media attached to it. Yeah. And I want to take a picture of this real quick so that we can put it up with all of our followers on social media for where we're at with that rear fender. Now I'm going to take another one with all you guys. You ready? Being my selfie. Here, Pat will take it for us.
I will take it. I know how to do this.
You know this one?
America with the looking like a rock of stars. There you go. He's a real live rock star.
Oh,
No, this guy,
Oh,
Nate,
he
is.
is.
He's
Yeah,
a
he is.
musician. He like,
Okay, so obviously
because his mom made him punk rock.
to start channeling this out, so to sit down further and swing arm won't get how much time we have.
I'm gonna say honestly from right there, Mark, we're just gonna make our. I would come up 1 inch again, but that's where I want to be.
So we do measure up 1 inch and slice all the way around.
We got up underneath there.
Now, Chris, where will you end up mounting that fender? You're going to mount it where the.
Well, there's the stock mounting positions. There's 3 holes here. We have, once we get to that point, we have a really neat tool. It's a set of tools, actually. I got turned on to this the last custom bike that I built because I would always just, make a scribe, whether it was with a marker or a sharp instrument, and then I would look to find the center of that, and I'd punch a hole, and that's where I'd drill. Well, some of my machinist buddies turned me onto these things. They're called centers, and they're actual punches. They're sharp on the end like a punch, but they have the diameter of every size of hardware. So if you have this 1/4 inch hole, you get a 1/4 inch center, you slide it into that hole and you tap it, and it gives you dead center every time. So it's, especially for mounting fenders, gas tanks, stuff like that, it's the best tool.
It's much easier.
And I think we have a set of them here with us.
Those are the things that you just learn. If you're just starting out, I mean,
Check it out.
if you build your first bike, it's not going to be the
Right on.
best. The first time you do it might not be.
Kevin Bass in the house. You guys know Kevin?
You guys know Kevin Bass?
What a good man. So we stopped up to his new school the other day when we first got into town, Lakeville North, and he had his kids on a CNC wood router make this sign for us. So awesome, man. But this man right here, if you don't know the story of this man, look him up. All you have to look up are the words chopper class out of his own pocket. How many years ago now? 12 years ago. He had some kids that he brought his motorcycle into school. He was a metal shop teacher, brought his motorcycle into school, and they saw the motorcycle and they were interested. So a couple kids started staying after school while he works on his bike. Couple more start staying. Eventually there's so many kids that parents are calling home from home and asking the school, hey, my kid doesn't stay after school for anything unless it's detention. Is this really going on? They find out that, he actually has the attention of these kids, and they let him do a program called Chopper Class, where to teach industrial arts, he brings motorcycles into the classroom, and he's teaching kids this stuff. So successful, this program out of this part of the country, that I think some 9 other schools have adopted his exact program and brought choppers into schools to teach people industrial arts. So please give him a big hand, because he did it all with his own time, his own money. One of the best stories I know in this whole industry.
And I know the schedule has changed a little bit today. What time is he going to be up?
I think he's still same time.
Still at 4 o'clock?
At 5.
At 5?
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry, I was looking at
Thanks,
the wrong
Teach.
schedule. I
So
was looking at the right schedule.
that's the best thing. Like, if you guys are watching this out there and saying, what's really going on? This is kind of like what it's like in the garage. People stop by, you get to talk with them, you get to introduce your friends to your other friends. That's the stuff we do.
Chris, you've got 8 minutes
8 minutes. Well,
to be off the stage.
we're probably not going to get into to actually putting the holes to mount, so we'll start cleaning this fender up. You can tell everybody about the stuff that's coming up, and we'll catch you guys on the next segment to take this to the next step.
We've got today at 5 o'clock will be our last Grease and Gears Garage segment, and it will be actually with, everybody calls him Teach, Kevin Bass. He's going to be up here with some of his students. This is a project bike that they're currently working on. He's going to come up and show us kind of how he walks his kids through doing CAD design. If that's intimidating to you, he's going to take some of the intimidation out of talking about CAD design. He's going to talk to us about how he does it, why you would do it, and why you would be able to do it. And if you decide you don't want to do it, how you can get that done
By other people.
by other people. And it's really not that intimidating. But I tell you, once you see it done, and you can wrap your head around it with computer-aided design, when you